Ladies and gentlemen, the American jury and Bulldog Nation, when you undertake to read a book that's this thick, 586 pages, every time I do, I think, well, hope it's good. Well, this book by Tim McGrath, James Monroe, A Life, was so good, I wanted to keep reading it. It was just incredible. And those of you that don't know about James Monroe, he served in the Revolutionary War, was injured at the Battle of Trenton. He became a colonel. He's like a very much first president. I mean, he was the first president to visit Michigan. He was the first president after Washington to take a tour of the country. He also, believe it or not, you ready for this? Like Thomas Jefferson, like John Adams, died on the 4th of July. He also, I think, held more public offices than anybody. I mean, he was ambassador to France, ambassador to England. He was Secretary of War. He was Secretary of State. He was president. He was governor of Virginia several times. He was elected to the House. He was elected to Congress. I mean, the guy was unfreaking believable. He was a good man. Very principled. He had a sad falling out with Washington. He was very close. He was a protege of Madison and Jefferson. His accomplishments were vast. Under his presidency, we grabbed Florida. He was the Secretary of War and Secretary of State during the Battle of 1812. The Missouri Compromise happened under his presidency in 1820. His biggest lasting legacy, which was really the brainchild of John Quincy Adams, his Secretary of State as much as his, is the Monroe Doctrine. And what that was during his presidency and time period, you may not know this, but European nations were still very much in tune with colonization. And after the American Revolution and the French Revolution, the countries in Latin America were revolutions were going on there as well. You had them going on in Colombia, you had them going on in Peru and other countries. And they wanted their freedom against Spanish and French rule. And those countries wanted to meddle in those. And Monroe is the one that set down the doctrine which has been used by Kennedy, Truman, Reagan, every president, which was this, is hey, you're not to meddle in our hemisphere. Stay out, leave it alone. You don't mess with our hemisphere. And guess what? The original doctrine, we'll leave you alone in Europe. Because they wanted to stay out. Remember the Washington principle of staying out of foreign affairs, getting entangled? Of course, that changed a lot. But the bottom line is the Monroe Doctrine survived. He was the French ambassador that negotiated the purchase of the Louisiana Purchase. I think it was in 1805 when Jefferson was the president. He got to see Napoleon be crowned emperor. He got to meet King George III after the Revolution. I mean, it's just an incredible life. James Monroe. I'm glad I read it, and the author did an amazing job. I now get to finish my book about Tombstone, the backstory, and what happened afterwards. I can tell you right now, I love the movie Tombstone, but man, they should do a whole freaking history series about Tombstone leading up to and after. What a ride of a story. This is the Bulldog. Every dog has their day. Read history.